Building a new car is an extremely expensive pursuit, so anytime a manufacturer can save a few quid, even if it means collaborating with its competitors, they'll tend to at least entertain the idea. In 2005, Peugeot, Citroen and Toyota sat down and had a conversation which went something along the lines of, look, we're all going to build a city car, why not pool our resources, save some money, and then leave it to our designers to make them look different. And so we ended up with the C1, the 107 and the Aygo. They've all been refreshed, and today we're driving the new C1. Right, before I go anywhere in the C1, let's just see what the differences between this and its three siblings are. Well, on the inside, there's not that much difference, but on the outside, it's radically different. And Citroen have always been noted for taking some risks with their styling. And I admire that, but sometimes I don't think they always pull it off. However, I do like this Citroen C1. I like the big headlights here and these little lights that sit above them. They look sort of like eyes and eyebrows. And then down here, you've got daytime running LEDs running vertically down the bumper. That to me looks a bit like Citroen's DS3, and that's a really handsome hatchback. And then round the back, they've incorporated the rear window and the boot into one pane of glass, and it goes from normal glass to black glass. It looks great. And then there's a smattering of chrome and black plastic around the place. Yes, it's a very busy looking car, but it's all stuff that I like. I'm driving the 1 litre 68 brake horsepower Feel model, and it costs €13,245. Now if you want, you can get an entry-level Touch model for €1,500 less, but quite honestly, I think this one is worth the money because as standard in the Feel, you get a 7-inch colour touchscreen display which looks magnificent. In actual fact, it gives cars in the class above this one, and maybe even in the medium family hatchback class, a good run for their money. It's also very intuitive and easy to use and brightly displayed. As well as that, I have air conditioning, a height adjustable driver's seat which you don't get on the entry-level model, and colour-coded wing mirrors and door handles, and some other aesthetic changes which just help to take the budget end look out of the C1. Now you don't need to have an awful lot of power in a small city car in order to have quite a lot of fun, and the C1 is a perfect example of that. It only has 68 brake horsepower and its 3-cylinder engine doesn't exactly rev very high, not that I can tell because I don't even have a rev gauge, but it still has a pretty frantic turn of pace, and I am actually quite enjoying myself driving this car. It's a buzzy little thing. And once you get it up to operating temperature and that quintessential 3-cylinder rumble low down when it's cold goes away, it's quite an enjoying car to drive. Kind of reminds me like a puppy. Sure, it's small and cute, but once you get it hyped up enough and let it off the leash, it's perfectly happy running about the place with boundless amounts of energy. Except unlike a puppy, it always does what it's told. Even over bad roads, the suspension in the C1 copes beautifully. Now, a crucial characteristic of any good city car is that it's easy to manoeuvre at low speeds. So I've just come into this car park and I'm going to take a series of turns so I can tell you about how the steering in the C1 works. You see, at low speeds, it's very easy to steer. It's nimble and light. However, when you speed up, the steering gets heavier. So this car is just as comfortable cruising along on the motorway as it is negotiating car parks. In 2014, we sold around about 2,500 city cars for the entire country, and in my opinion, this segment of vehicle is probably a little overrepresented. You see, as well as the C1, the 108 and the Aygo, there's also the Volkswagen Up, the Skoda Citigo and the Seat Me. And then we have the Hyundai i10, the Kia Picanto, the Mitsubishi Space Star, the Suzuki Celerio, the Renault Twingo, and I think that's them all. But if I've forgotten any, it's because there's so many to try and remember. And each has its own merits. It's a very difficult decision trying to decide which one to go for. The Volkswagen Group's cars are always built very robustly and they have some very attractive finance packages. The Hyundai i10, in some respects, looks like a more substantial car than some of the other cars in this class, and it has a long warranty. So why should you buy the Citroen? Well, in my opinion. I think it's one of the best looking city cars. It's also mechanically as good as any of them out there, and it's priced very competitively. And at the end of the day, what more can you want from a car?